This interview has been conducted for Inverkeithing People Making History Oral History Project. My name is Dr Sue Morrison and the respondent is Moira Marshall. This is the 7th of December 2021 and the interview is taking place in Inverkeithing Civic Centre. Thank you very much for agreeing to be interviewed for this project, Moira.
You're welcome.
For the record, would you please confirm your full name?
Moira Isabella Marshall,
Oh, very posh.
after my grandmother.
And would you mind telling me your age?
I am 75.
Where were you born?
I was born in the maternity hospital in Dunfermline and brought down to Inverkeithing and lived in Now Terrace until I was about 11, and then moved to Bar Crescent, and from there we moved to Alma Street, then from Alma Street to Canal Road. I got married and stayed with my parents-in-law for about 6 weeks, and then got a house, a flat in Fraser Avenue, 12 years and 2 sons later, Fordell Way in Spencerfield, and then 45 years ago, 31 Spitalfield Road, and that's me. It's mine, and I love it.
Good. Could you tell me a little bit about your birth family, please?
Mum and Dad, Mary McLaren, William Howson, Bill, smashing parents, absolutely wonderful parents. Big sister, Norma, 2.5 years older than me, and disappeared when she was 22 years old, and that was in 1967, and well, that's it. Don't know. Police thought she had gone in the river. Lots of different things going on, and that was when we moved from Alma Street to Canal Road, for the simple reason that the council had to get in because there was dry rot and wet rot in the flat down. There was a flat down below us in that house where Mr and Mrs Straighton lived, and we were starting to get it in our house, and the house was absolutely fantastic. Loved that house to bits, apart from what happened when we lived there. And my mum and dad were just absolutely fantastic. My granddad had a shop at Jamestown with my Uncle Harry. Uncle Harry and my granddad were twins and had a couple of shops there. They came from Edinburgh, and there was a big garden at the back of the shop, and my dad did the big garden, and he had a shed, and he used to spend his time when he wasn't working or playing in the brass band, Inverkeithing Town Brass Band, and a few others. He used to make things in the shed round the back, and my sister and I had a flower bed of our own that we had to look after, and it was, the flower beds were round at the side of in between the shop and the wee house next door, which belonged to Mr and Mrs Rowland. So we had our little flower garden round there, and my dad had the shop, the shed, and his big thing was he used to make ironing boards. I think everybody in Now Terrace had an ironing board that my dad had made. We used to, Mum would help Grandad in the shop, especially at the weekends and what have you, and Norma and I used to go down as well. And at that time it was a case of they were doing likes peas, lentils, barley, rice and stuff like that. It all had to be put into separate bags, weighed and put into separate bags. So Norma and I used to go and help with that. And my granddad would be busy with the butter and the pat things and getting it measured out and wrapping it up and putting it in the fridge for selling. And there was a great big cupboard on the far side of the shop, which was the hardware side. This side was the grocer's side. And in this cupboard, that's where the sweeties and the chocolate used to be kept. And there was a box, a cardboard box, and it was about that size, about that. And it held my favourite thing in the world at that time when I was that young, licorice root. Oh, and it was like that. It wasn't the skinny things that you can get in health food shops now. And I used to go in and I'd shout to Grandad, "Can I get some, Grandad? Only one just now." And I used to go into the box and I would get the one that I would really liked, and that would do me all day, just sucking away at it and chewing it, and I loved it. Living at Now Terrace was just like, I had aunties there and cousins there and everybody else. It was just like one big happy family because we all played together, and it was just great. It was great. Kind of lost that a bit when we moved to Bar Crescent, but I've still got nice things that happened at Bar Crescent when we lived there, because at that time it was a lovely little street, because it wasn't big and there were only 3 stories high. I can remember we were in the top flat, and there was a family underneath us. I think it was the Petries, and then underneath was an elderly couple and their son, and I can't remember their names, but the elderly couple, they slept in the back room, and if you were really quiet at night, we were up the stair in the top flat, and he was in his bed. Well, they were in their bed. You could hear him snoring. Oh, what a lovely old couple they were. I wish I could remember their name, but I can't. And their son actually. Their son's still alive, and I think he lives in Aberdour. But I'm really annoyed myself that I can't remember his name. Inverkeithing for me is, I couldn't live anywhere else. I mean, when I got married and we lived in Fraser Avenue for 12 years, and my husband said, "Come on, we'll put in for another house." Yeah, okay then. And we did. And we got a letter from the council saying that there was a house that we could go and see if we liked it. And if we liked it, we could have it. It had 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. From what I can remember, it was in Rosyth. And I looked at him after I'd read the letter. I said, "No." "What do you mean, no? We're not going to live in Rosyth." "Why not? You've not even been to see it yet." I says, "I'm sorry." I says, "But I am an Inverkeithing girl, and I will always be an Inverkeithing girl because I love where I live and I want to stay here." So we didn't go and see it. That was it. I suppose in a way that I was kind of, I was meant to be in the house that I was in, the house that I'm in now, because it was actually my late mother-in-law and father-in-law's house. They lived there, but it was a council house. My father-in-law passed away. My mother-in-law didn't want to live there on her own, so we were in Fordle Way at that time, and we moved from Fordle Way to live in Spitalfield Road. It's a corner plot. It was only 2 bedrooms, so we did the attic because 2 sons, me and my husband, Matty's husband, because he's and my mother-in-law. So we did the attic up, and I've lived there for about 45 years, and I love it. Inverkeithing has changed so much, and when I come up the street, which isn't very often, maybe about four times a week, and I look at it, especially now in this weather, I look at it and I think to myself, well, that was there and that was there, and well, that wasn't there, that wasn't like that. And it's good in the fact that up in Dunfermline Library, they have got pictures of what it used to be like. And for me, that's great. I was talking to somebody the other day there about the Christmas tree. When the lights were switched on the other night there, I came up for that. And I said, but we always had a Christmas tree. I says, but it wasn't here. I said, it was across the road, just outside where the supermarket is. It was huge. And on the bottom, about table height, they used to have all the way around it, and it had a shelf on it as well. And people used to put Christmas presents on it, just so that, you know, charity and different things like that. The mile of pennies and Lammas Fair. I mean, who can forget Lammas Fair? Because, well, Highland Games, you know, all these different things that we're missing out on just now, and the children, the generations just now, well, they're missing out on that. And hopefully when this is all over and done with, we'll get back to all that sort of thing, and we'll be able to see it again and enjoy it and hear the pipes and the brass band, although I don't think Inverkeithing's got a brass band now.
All right, so moving on. Could you tell me when you started working at the mill?
I was 15 and a half. To start off with, I didn't want to work in the paper mill. I hope nobody laughs at this. I wanted to be a window dresser. But I was working in a wee shop in Rosyth, and I couldn't go to daily release for college because it was in Glasgow. So I spoke to my mum and dad. I want to go to the paper mill. And I started off on the cars on the far end, because it was East End and the far end, the West End. But anyway, I was on the far end, and it was Jimmy Fraser was my cutterman, and I was working on his cutter with another girl, and I can't remember who it was. It was just the rolls of paper would come through from the machine shop, and they would get put on the machine at the back, and then we would put the boards in and fix them. And I did that until I think I was about 16 and a half, something like that. And then what you did then was you went up the stair to the tyres. Now the tyres are the men who tied up the reams of paper that the overhaulers and the counters had checked, and they wrapped it all up, and I was called a stamper because I put the labels on, and we had little wooden things that we had to put teeps on with the name and the number that was to go on certain parcels. And then we stacked them on boards, and then the tyres, who were Jimmy Vaughan and Davy Syme. That was my two tyres. And there was loads of people in it from Inverkeithing. My Uncle Harry was there as a tyre. Joe Lysaght from the ferry, he was a tyre. I'm getting a wee bit lost with the names and what have you. You went to the stamping first, then you went to the learners, and you learnt how to overhaul the paper. So you got a lift of paper, it was about that much. And that was put onto your table that you were on with Bella, I can't remember her second name. Bella was there to teach you how to do the overhauling. And it was a thing where you got 2 pieces of rubber or 1 piece of rubber to put on your fingers. And it was like that. The paper, thingy of paper was put there, and you had to pull one sheet at a time in, and then thing it up so that it was in neat and tidy. And you did that, and then when you got your this bits here full, you had to count them. So you had to get the corner of the paper and thing it up, and then run your fingers through and count it, and then put it at the side with a piece of paper to separate from the next one. And when you were efficient enough at doing that, you got put onto the big tables. And normally it was a case of, there was 2 lots, a lot down this end and a lot up that end. And the reason for that is because they had to get round the tables with a scooter with the boards of paper on it. And that was where you went and you earned your pay. So the more paper that you overhauled, the more money you got at the end of the week. And there was two females on each table, because they were great big long tables. And then there was men who would, after they had the reams of paper had been all tied up and everything, there was the other guys who were there, and they would take the boards of paper into the lift and down the stair and take them through to, now, it would have been either the steeps or the loading bay, because that was these big places that they were kept down the stair, and that was just across from the where the big cutters were. There was 3 ordinary cars, and there was a little car, and then there was an angle car. The angle cutter was the most interesting one, I really think, because, as it says, it cut the paper on an angle. And the paper mill was just a great place to work, because it didn't just teach you how to do the paper and what have you. It taught you made friends, and usually a lot of your family, your surrounding family were there as well. But then come this time of the year, it would be a case of the Christmas party. Well, the Christmas party wasn't held in the paper mill. No, it was held in the Queen's Hotel. So it was great. It was really great. And then during the summer, we did bus runs and days out, and the days out weren't always on the bus. They were mainly in the train. Aberdeen, Whitley Bay, Isle of Arran, all these, loads of other different places as well. They would just hire the train, and that was it. We were away early in the morning, we were away for it, we followed the whole train, and we were away for a whole day. It was just absolutely fantastic. And they had a football team. The guys that got a football team going, and it was a brilliant place to work, with a canteen, and two of the girls from the learners would go round everybody in the finishing house to see what they wanted to get from the canteen for their breakfast. Because we started at, I think it was 7:30 that we started work at, but we got a break about 10 o'clock or something like that. And then we got our lunch break as well, but then we finished work at, I think it was either 4:30 or 5 o'clock when we finished. But it was such a good place to work, because the laughs that we used to get, and it was just brilliant. It was a great place. I loved it. Mm-hmm.
I've done projects about other mills, other types of mills, and some of the ladies that worked there used to tell me that they dominated the toilets at break times and lunch times, and they did each other's hair and makeup. And did that kind of thing happen?
Yes.
Please tell me.
The toilets, yes, because at that time, well, 90% of the women that were working there were smokers. And yes, we would go into the toilets, and we had a bench along one wall. I mean, it wasn't a big sort of space toilet-wise. There was about 6 toilets in it, but the rest of it was... And if we were doing anything special, if we were, if we had a date or what have you, there was always somebody there that would do your hair and your makeup. And I can remember, I think it was Jeanette. Jeanette had her hair done, and at that time, well, long hair. But if you had long hair and you wanted it put up for some reason, it got put up right on the top of your head. And the amount of hairspray, sometimes it wasn't just proper hairspray that you bought out the shops. Sometimes it was somebody who had run out and they just made it up themselves. So they just got a spray bottle and put some shellac in the bottom of the bottle and mixed it up with water. And that was that's what we used for hairspray. The makeup part of it, oh heavens almighty, we used to experiment with that good style. It was a lot of laughs, a really lot of laughs. And when somebody was getting married, the female, we used to buy something first, and the thing that we bought was a little potty, and we'd ask the bride-to-be if it was a blue one or a pink one that they wanted, and they would always say. And then what we did was we filled it up with I can't remember what we filled it up with, maybe sand or something like that, and then we used to dress up the bride-to-be. And, well, I don't know if I should say this or not. We used to get the stamping thing from the stamper's table, and we used to get the teeps, and we would spell out a word, and the word was learner. And then we would go out on a pub walk. Well, at that time there was a lot of pubs in Inverkeithing, and we used to go round them all. But before we went round them all, the bride-to-be had to get stamped. So it was a case of bend over, pull them down a bit, and they used to get learners stamped on their bum. And then we would go round the pubs, and the pennies for the poorut when on the day that they got married. So we would get that as well. I was lucky in the fact that I didn't get learner put on my bum. But we did go round the pubs and get the blue potty that I had. We got that filled up with pennies for the poorut. Because they don't do pooruts now when people get married. I don't know what they maybe think it's not right, but they used to, and that was what. So many things like that happened. I mean, I don't know about the men when they were getting married. I don't know what happened to them. Well, they would have gone out in a pub crawl, that's for sure. But if anything happened to them, I don't know. But that was what happened to the females. And I think the other thing that I think that happened was mill felts. The men used to wear them round their waist, the men that were on the tie-in. And I'm not sure if they wore them down in the machine house or anywhere like that. Some of the girls in the finishing house, we would wear them round our waist as well, because when you're shifting paper as quick as that, it can cut you. I mean, your hands used to get cut to bits. And some some people got, just before their wedding, when they left to get married, they would get a piece of mill felt, just as a keepsake, or to put underneath the tablecloth on the table, or to use as on their ironing board. I've still got mine. Honestly, I still got mine. It's in the boot of my car. And, well, I was 22 when I got married, and I'm 75 now. So I've had it a long time, and I would be really very upset if I lost that, because it just means a lot. It means a lot. Looking back on my time of working in the paper mill, obviously there's not a lot of people left that were working in it at that time, but the memories that you've got are just, they're great. They're just great. When I was on the stamping, a couple of girls would be picked to hoover the finishing house, and the hoover was a great big tub-like thing for collecting all the dirt, but you couldn't just go and empty it anywhere. You had to take it down the stair in the lift. Now, it was either through the steeps or the loading bay, I can't remember which one, right across the railway, right across to through all the ground to the river's edge, and empty it down there at the river's edge, because that's where we had to put it, so that it didn't muck anything up. And it was just dust and muck off your shoes and stuff like that. But it was just one of the things that you did. And it was good fun. It was good fun. I'm watching.
Could you tell me, what were working conditions like?
They were okay. We weren't harassed or anything like that, at least not that I can remember. You were learning to do it properly, and it was okay. The toilet wasn't very big, and as I said, we did use it for smoking, but we didn't eat or anything in there, because there wasn't enough room for that anyway. And there were sinks right outside the toilets. If I remember rightly, there was one big toilet in that toilet block. Everybody worked well together. You know how they set the tables out for the overhauling. There had to be a space to get the forklift through with the boards of paper. There had to be room to get through with that. And then there was 3 guillotines and a packet machine as well. And we had a lot of fun. And there was music playing all the time, because we had the loudspeakers. Bobby's Girl, I remember that. And then we got moved for the tables that we were on, because they'd started to do this time and management, I think it was, something like that. So it was supposed to be, they said it was the 8 elite overhaulers. And I thought, aye, right. 8 elite overhaulers, and you've got me in beside them. So there was 4 tables, and we were on this side. Now I was used to working the way over there, sorry. And they brought us down, and it was 4 tables. But instead of overhauling like we used to do, This time we were doing it different because it was to save time. We were doing what was called running down. So it was how you would do the counting bit, but you had to do it. You weren't counting. You were flaring it up so that you could see if there was any bad bits of paper, or any bad sheets or anything like that. And we were kept there for, we were still there when I left to get married. And that was how they wanted it to be. But then it worked out quicker than how it was when we were overhauling, because at that time we were only pulling one sheet of paper in at a time. And some of these sheets of paper could be quite big, others could be quite small. But working conditions were okay. I mean, if you wanted to go down to the canteen, then you could go down to the canteen. But as I said earlier, the two girls would come round and see what you wanted, and you would get what you wanted from the canteen for your break. It was bright and cheerful, and there was never any. I can't remember there ever been any badness or anything like that.
Was it dangerous at all?
No. Well, if you were picked to go and help the men on the guillotines, then you weren't actually at the guillotines. What you were doing was, after they had cut the big ream of paper into the size that was needed, he would push that to the side, away for the blade or anything. It was at the side, and then you would just lift that and you would put it onto a board, so you built it up. And then 9 times out of 10, if it was a small pack, then that would just go straight to the packet machine, which was next to the first of the guillotines. And actually the two tyres that I worked for on the tie-in were, as I said, were Jimmy Vaughan and Davy Syme. They were the two tyres that worked on the packet machine. So that if they were working on the packet machine, then I had to go onto that as well. And when they were feeding the packet machine with the small, like a wee pack of paper, it was always 500 sheets, that was a ream. Then when that was wrapped up at the far end, then I had to lift that and put it on the board and build it up so that we got right through it all. No, there was nothing dangerous there.
Was it heavy work?
Well, yeah, it could be, because a ream of paper is, as I say, is 500 sheets. It's all right when it's that size, but when it's that size, and not just that size, but that size as well, and the sizes that were cut on the angle cutter, well, they could be even bigger than that. And you could get, now what was the name of the coffin linings? That's what they used to call one of the big sheets. It could be, it was heavy work, but if you watched what you were doing, then obviously it was all right. I can't remember anybody ever dropping paper, a ream or anything like. I can't remember anything like that happening.
Can you tell me what your favourite memory is of working at the paper mill?
Gosh, it was just so happy, and where the table that I was put on, as I said earlier, there was always 2 women on each table because they were big tables, one at one side and one at the other side, because you had bricks wrapped in brown paper and then a piece of wood at the side of it. And that was where, when you pulled the paper in, it went into that bit, and then you had to shake it up so that it was all neat and everything. And I got a table of my own, because it wasn't as big as the other tables. And I had a female at the side of me, Betty Patterson, and another female in front of me, and that was Ina Bostock, I think, if I remember rightly. And they were on a table of their own as well. Their table was a wee bit bigger than mine. But we just had so many laughs, and everybody got on so well together. It was just a brilliant place to work. We were just all pals, and the nights out that we had together. And actually, Betty Patterson was my best maid when I got married. It was just a happy place to work. There was never any animosity or anything like that between any of us. We just got on so well. So I can't really think of just one specific thing.
Why did you leave?
Why did I leave? Oh, I was pregnant with my first son. I worked until I was, oh gosh, I was only about 4 months pregnant, and that was me. I left to have my son, and I never went back to it again.
Was it usual to leave when you got pregnant?
Yes. But a lot of girls went back after they had their babies. If they were lucky enough to have somebody that could, share the looking after. But no, that was me. I just wanted to stay with my wee one. And he's 53 now.
Moira, that's all my questions. Is there anything you would like to add?
It was a great place to work. And as I said, a lot of my family worked there. And, well, I watched it when the chimneys were coming down. I went to the ballast bank and I watched it, and I thought, end of an era. I mean, when you were at school and when you got old enough to leave the school, if you weren't clever enough to go to Dunfermline High School, or you want to carry on with your education, you either went to the paper mill or the dockyard. And it was just Inverkeithing. And there'll never be another place like, I mean, I've seen them on the telly, and some of them are still going, but nothing like that. Nothing like that. I do remember a friend of mine who, her husband was still working in the dockyard, and she says to me, they're starting to make toilet roll. Toilet roll? Yeah. So if you need a toilet roll, just let me know. But it was a great place to work. A great place to work.
Well, thank you very much, Moira. I've thoroughly enjoyed this session. Thank you.
You're welcome.